Sonic Talk.
Hello everybody and welcome to Sonic Talk episode 511. Today, recorded today, November the 11th. No, November the 2nd. First. Good grief. I'll get it right one day, because last night was Halloween, which is October the 31st, isn't it? So we did have a whole bunch of kids show up. Although we forgot to put, we just, as you know, we were away last week, we forgot to put a pumpkin out. So we only got a couple of brave souls sort of attempting to chance it, but they were very sweet and it was very lovely. And in fact, while we were in France, we had a French Halloween experience, which is very weird when you're in a cottage in the middle of nowhere. It's absolutely bloody terrifying, I can tell you. Anyway, today, before I get too rambly, today this is Sonic Talk, the music technology podcast, where we talk about synthesizers, software, drum machines, all kinds of stuff to do with the creation and the technology and the industry around the music technology business, the music business even. And I want to say welcome to all our friends in the chat room. That's in the YouTube chat room. And also in the IRC chat room, which if you prefer that way, you can go that way. That's at sonicstate.com/live. You should be able to see the coordinates there. And the YouTube. If you subscribe to YouTube, you'll be notified when we go live. So that means that you won't have to kind of go, oh, damn, I missed the live show. I really wanted to see that. So that's a good reason to subscribe, even though I have to say this arrived just last week. We have our 100,000 subscriptions play button. And yes, it's smaller than I expected, but I thought this would be kind of a piece of plastic, but it's actually the button bit in the middle is made of metal. It's quite hefty. And it says, Sonicstate, congratulations on 100,000 subscribers. And that is, in fact, we think when that happened, that must have happened in May. So it takes them a little while to print them. I think they forged them in some kind of mine with kind of mythical creatures. The tears of, I don't know, YouTube elves or something like that. That's the only thing I can assume. Either that or they're really not that special and they have to make so many of them that there's a huge backlog. I prefer the former, but the latter is probably true. Anyway, welcome everybody to Sonic Talk Podcast. Let's say hello to everybody. Let's start with Mr. Dave Spears from G4 Software. We haven't seen Dave for a long time. Dave, of course, makers of fine software instrument. In fact, you get to plug. You did a Tron expansion pack, didn't you, recently? You can plug that again. Was that the Tron expansion pack?
Oh no, we did a Chambertron, which is a rack extension for
rack extension,
Chamberlain rack extension stuff. But at the minute, I'm reliably informed that as of a couple of days ago, there's a bundle deal of the rack extension stuff over at Reason. So yes, so that's what I'm going to pimp today.
Excellent. And of course, Reason 10 came out, I think, week before last or last week, but none of us are we might have talked about it, I can't remember now, but none of us are really Reason users, so it always feels a little bit difficult talking with any authority about it. I thought it's great they made it to 10 and all of these things are fabulous, so that's awesome. Anyway, Dave, thank you very much for joining us. We'll come back to you shortly. We've also got Mr. Richard Hilton from Hiltonius.com, keyboard player with Chic, where he's been pounding the circuit in Europe. In fact, I don't know if you saw, they did a TV special, they did a whole bunch of stuff and some live gigs as well. In fact, you flew back into to JFK last night. So thank you very much for joining us. Rich, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Always a pleasure. And we had fun. We worked hard and we had fun.
Excellent and good. And you're also wearing the Sonicstate T-shirt, which I'm very, very pleased to see. And I'm holding the mug of the same logo. Look at that. And we're at opposing corners. There must be something symbiotic or something about that. But Rich, thank you very much for having us. How many gigs did you do while you were out there? Were you kind of doing? Was it a blockbuster job or was it just one or two?
It was 3 shows in 3 consecutive nights in 3 consecutive cities, followed by 2 full days of video and television work.
Wow. Okay.
There was one day in between all of that.
Was that because a lot of the time you're hanging around waiting for stuff to happen, or were you sort of straight in? I don't know whether you did. Was that performance stuff or was it interview stuff?
Well, on the Saturday, there was a live recording directly to vinyl at some mastering studio in New York from a studio in London.
Wow.
And that was 4 songs that took about 4 or 5 hours to do. And video was also shot of all of that. And then in the evening, there was a concert for some sort of highly paid guests. And
Okay.
But the whole day ended up being like 11 or 12 hours, most of which was playing music, and it was exhausting.
Wow,
it was
that is
great.
how are your
fun,
fingers?
It was
How are your
exhausting.
fingers?
Oh, my hands are fine. It's never going to be my hands that are given up in this body. But anyway, and then Sunday I got to visit with my old friend Adrian Lee. I don't know if you know him, but he's great. He played in Mike and the Mechanics, and he's done a lot of work, and he's from your neck of the woods in general.
Ah, right, okay.
And then Monday we did the BBC. In the morning we played 2 songs live on a radio show, and then in the evening we played a full concert on TV. And
I saw that. I saw it.
Oh, cool.
On telly. I was just about to go to bed, and I went, hang on, let's give this 10 minutes on the red button. And I got the bit where he took about half an hour to introduce the band.
Well, we actually jammed in the middle of it on Ralph's introduction. Yeah.
That was really funny. The Biggie.
Yeah. Niall loves Ralph's Biggie Smalls imitation and actually asked him to do it. And Ralph
Brilliant.
does all kinds of voices and imitations. He is one of the funniest human beings I've ever known. And to tour with him is such a blast because he just might get up and do the African tour guide or Martin Luther King at the airport, or there's just 1,000 things that he does that are just hilarious. And it's so much fun having him on the road.
Excellent. That sounds great. Also, what you were talking about, so you live streamed from the UK to a vinyl cutting mastering place in New York. That's mixing and matching your technologies and centuries, right?
Well, in a sense, yeah, absolutely. And the mix was coming off of our front of house guy, which is a beautiful thing because he knows the music and he knows what we do. So because he's got to perform too. He's part of the performance. And and that was filmed. There were cameras all over the place.
Excellent. I noticed
it's really been quite a year. I mean, if you really want to get into it, it's been an amazing year for this band. And I could never have believed that 40-year-old music would be embraced on this level by so many who really, really love it and enjoy it. And to me, the privilege of getting to dispense it with those people is just massive.
Nah, it must be a real blast. I'm envious, and I'm sorry I missed it, but I was still flying. So I wasn't flying. I was in Toulouse, I think, in slightly grim weather. But in fact, what I was doing was walking around lots of different branches of the same cosmetic shop, Sephora, because my 14-year-old daughter is really into that shop, but she actually ended up buying nothing at all. But that's another story. She had a lovely day and it was all fine. Anyway, Gaz Williams, also with us today. Gaz Williams, bass player, producer, about to launch your album, The Lawn.
Friday.
Yeah, how are you, Gaz? You well?
I'm good. I just realised that this lower third is showing me that my beard is now too long, isn't it? Because it's sort of
you've encroached. Well, you have got some headroom.
Yeah.
If you is there some kind of beard clip? Have got about the same. You've got just about the right amount of headroom in your shot to get your whole beard in and still get the top of your head in. But you'd need to up your chair or tilt.
I'll up my chair.
There you go. You're fine now.
Okay.
Now you're just wafting. Now you're just cleaning the dust off the top of your lower third with your beard.
I was just thinking that this particular group today on the show, it's like 2011 all over again, isn't it? It's sort of like
I suppose it is, yeah.
So it's nice.
Yeah, it was.
What's been floating my boat lately is.
You got one of those.
I have, and I gotta be honest. I mean,
that's I don't know Expressive E Touché.
Expressive E Touché. It's an object of. It's amazing. I mean, I think probably a lot of people have probably tried them or seen them now, but the amount of things you can use it for is really. It's expressive as it's obviously claiming to be, but it's super versatile. I think that's really its great strength. I'm finding it is combined with the analog 4, the Electron analog 4, is an absolutely terrific combo actually, because the Analog 4 has got these macro knobs that you can assign. Each macro knob you can assign 5 parameters to.
Oh wow!
So what I found is that
yeah.
Yes, so each direction, and there's 4 directions on the Touché, can affect 5 different parameters. But also the Touché allows you to have 2 sets of MIDI commands in each direction, so you can map
and
it
you can set
to
the positively and negatively and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you can have 10 parameters in each direction that you can kind of adjust, and I know that seems like quite like overkill, but when you put that across all 4 tracks and the effects tracks that's on the Analog 4, so for instance, if you like maybe bring it to the right, it can sort of add some LFO, but it can also sort of increase the delay track's feedback amount, and and then you can have it affect all of the 4 different individual channels all at the same time. So using it in a kind of multi-timbral way and having it affect everything. Oh, it's outstanding. What it's done, I've got to be honest, it's kind of just refreshed my relationship with the Analog 4, actually. It's made me love the Analog 4 in ways that I hadn't actually done
Careful
before.
what you say here.
I've only got the Mark 1. But just in terms of like...
Oh, that's great.
It makes it just so much more alive, and you can, because the thing is just ever so sensitive. Just the tiniest.
Can I ask you a question? Because what you were thinking about is a way to use it as a foot pedal, like somehow, restricting the amount of stomp you could put on it so you couldn't break it. Did you manage to get that to happen?
I've had a very, very little trial of it so far, and it's quite promising actually. But so I'm getting a piece of wood made around it, which is slightly higher than the surface, so I can rest my foot on the wood. So
you're not going to.
I don't put any weight onto it at all. But it's wide enough so the ball of my foot then can kind of touch. But I haven't done it very much. I did it as a proof of concept, and it was really interesting. I thought I did it with just my socks on, and I think
barefoot. It's going to have to be barefoot, isn't it?
I think
then you can grip the side of it with your prehensile toes.
Yeah. But so, like as you mentioned, we've got our album launch on Friday. We're playing in Bristol in the Cube Cinema, and there's a couple of tracks where I use the Analog 4 synthesizer, and I'm using it with the Touché, but I'm not using a keyboard now. I'm just using it's just got 1 octave worth of buttons on the Analog 4, which are just just buttons, no velocity or anything. But just by playing them and having the Touché do all the sort of action is really interesting. It's super cool. Like as an example, it's just setting the oscillator the oscillator level on the sort of the forward, so you can just very smoothly bring sounds in, and then apply sort of various kind of modulations to it, but just smoothing them in, and in the context of playing with other musicians, that sensitivity of being able to kind of creep it in and bring it back out again with really
it's very musical, isn't it? Well,
okay.
I got a delivery while I was away. I'd just like to show you what arrived. So first to show is I got the TR-08, isn't it? And I have to say, it feels very nice, this, actually. It's kind of makes sense, this interface. I think when I saw it, I thought, yeah, actually, that does make a certain amount of sense. It is, because, let's face it, the 808 is kind of far too... It doesn't need to be as big as it is, and that's kind of everything there. So that works all right. And this is battery-powered as well, but this has got that little flip case on it, so you can't see that. I also, in fact, I got the whole set. So I got the D05. I haven't powered any of these up yet. So the D05 and also the... just reached that, the
101
SH01. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get around to reviewing all of them straight away, because it always takes a little bit of while, and I'll need to get my magnifying glass out to be able to operate this one, obviously, because it's got those tiny little faders. Although the fader tops are bigger than the JP08, it's got the kind of classic SH01 type, SH101 type knob fader tops.
Roland should make like a jerkin that you wear that you can clip you can clip them on, sort of like, like a sort of Roland sort of a beef jerkin. No, I don't know.
Yeah, excellent. Like photographers wear, like photographers get. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, not bad. I also got the. I've got a Analog Solutions fuse box here as well, which is next on the bench for actual review. It does sound very nice. The oscillators are nice. Anyway, gosh, that is one of the longest preambles I think we ever had, but that's just because we haven't seen each other for so long. I was away last week, obviously in France. The other thing I saw while I was in France, when it mentioned the prehensile toes, I went to this place. The thing about France is, this is another aside, I'm just diverting again slightly. If you've ever been to France and you've been to like an adventure park or anything like that, they've got this really brilliant attitude to health and safety, which is, it's up to you. You know, we've made this thing. If you want to use it, that's fine. You carry on. Just be sensible. Don't do anything stupid. And we went to this adventure park that would just absolutely in no way ever pass muster in the UK. You know, you wouldn't be allowed anywhere near half of the stuff on there. But it was really good fun and it was proper adventurous. And this time we went to this place called the Forest of Monkeys, which is near Padarac, this cave system. And literally, it's just this massive compound where they've got like 150 Barbary macaques who are endangered. So they're breeding them and they return them in groups back to their natural habitat. They study them, make sure they understand how they operate. And you just basically walk in and there are 150 monkeys sitting around. And it just says, right, don't go too close, don't be aggressive, take it easy. And they give you a load of popcorn. And you hold your hands out and these monkeys just sort of reach up and grab it. And we were... And again, we were there just going, there's no way in the world this would happen in the UK. They just wouldn't let you get anywhere near. They would be behind glass and you'd be looking at it. And that was just another example. It's got nothing to do with music technology whatsoever. There was one, we were watching this pair of monkeys grooming. And I had two teenage girls with them, and it was kind of quite sweet. And I sort of felt it's a bit intrusive, because it looked like a very private matter. And obviously there's a human aspect to it. And then they stopped. Suddenly, the guy just went "Oof," and then just started mating with the female, like right there in front of everybody. And it was kind of like, yeah, let's go. Anyway, so let's move on. I think we probably should. Did you see the news? This is Native Instruments gets 50 million. I said 50 million euros. And which they're going to presumably use to kind of increase. Well, their global recruitment drive to hire the world's leading technology talent in Berlin, Los Angeles, London, and expects to announce more detailed plans in early 2018. 50 million euro investment for a music technology company. That is absolutely incredible. And I think if they spend it right and it's handled right, because as we've seen before, sometimes when you get VC capital into creative firms, things can go a bit wrong. But hopefully this is going to be amazing. But I don't know, that is an astonishing... Imagine that. Dave, I'll come to you. Imagine, what would you do with 50 million euros invested in your company? After you bought the jet and, the new car, a couple of cents maybe.
You can't do any of those things, I'm afraid, when things like this happen. We've flirted with it in the past, and although it was nothing like this, I think about £7.50 we might have been offered at one point. It's a whole nother world of it's a whole nother world of things, and I don't know. I kind of wear two hats on this. The good hat is, it's amazing to have an infrastructure and the ability and the funds to do what you want to do. From a developer's point of view, that's the kind of holy grail. And we've been asked a few times, but it has to be the perfect fit. On my slightly negative hat, the Bright Sparks experience taught me that it's a very precarious balancing act working, as you said, with VC companies, because this industry seems to be a kind of, it's buoyant, but it's a finite size. And I remember years ago when it was like multimedia was the buzzword, everybody would come up to you at NAMM and go, so does it do multimedia? And we were like, well, what the hell is multimedia? So you end up kind of going, yeah, it does everything. If you dance while you're playing. Yeah, and it's really strange because out of that kind of madness, and that's why certain companies, they want the money and they get picked up and they either fly or fall dramatically. And that again was interesting about when you sent me the link to the Dolby book. The process and there's this kind of thing in venture capitalists is that when something gets to a certain size, I don't think that's particularly applicable with NI because they've already had previous.
They're already
funding.
pretty
Dan
massive, aren't
Miller,
they?
Yeah, and so they've been through this process before. But with smaller companies, when you want to make that leap, there is, once the money people come in, it's a whole other world. It's the corporate world, which kind of scares.
You end up having to hire a bunch of people that they want you to hire, so you spend a third of it straight away on wages for insiders, effectively, I suppose.
I can tell you, in the year 2000, a company we were involved with had seed funding, and all of a sudden these people got introduced who really didn't know anything about any of the technology, and the CEO was on $13,333 a month plus a guaranteed bonus of $13,333 a month. And there was a CTO and a CFO, and they were all on comparable money, and the cash burn just goes crazy. But that's taking it from seed funding to try and go for, first or second round. So yeah, it's a very scary act, and only the brave few, I think, can pull it off. But frankly, if anybody can do it, it'll be NI.
Yeah, I know. I think so. Gaz, I mean, aside from the congratulations for them, is there anything you'd like to see them do with it? If you had if you could send them a bulleted list of, please, can you fix it for me to...
Wow, yeah. Gosh, interesting question. Specifically with Native Instruments, I mean, I'd like to see them hurry on and bring out machines kind of audio functionality, audio track functionality, but that's obviously just a small thing. I mean, I was looking into this and I was trying to work out what this was all about, and I think there's definitely a large part of the motivation for this, I think, is to do with like the DJ market and things like Beatport. I think that's been part of the...
Yeah, they hired the ex-CEO of Beatport, I think, yeah.
Yes, and I think that they're looking at trying to expand the whole music technology for music creation for everybody kind of thing. So I'm not sure if this investment is particularly interesting to us who are more interested in the sort of professional side of things. I'm wondering if it's going to be developing a lot more things like what Rowley did with the sort of
licensable technology. Yeah,
licensable technology, and just trying to really appeal to first-time creators. I mean, I don't know. This is all purely speculative. I mean, I think it's very interesting. Native Instruments have been around for nearly 20 years, perhaps now. So
20 plus, yeah.
Right, yeah. So they, within the industry, are probably a reasonably safe pair of hands to invest in. I don't imagine they're going to be. I think they'll be around for a long time. So I think this is quite interesting. And I wonder, I mean, because like Native Instruments have really sort of sharpened what they make into those, into essentially into the complete control and machine. They're and the tractor I meant as well. So they've got these definite sort of angles that they work on. But they don't, for instance, make any hardware instruments. So it would be interesting. I mean, obviously, something that immediately sort of jumped to my mind was whether this would actually sort of give them sort of a bit more investment, that they might want to try and take on Akai's standalone MPCs. They've got the established sort of machine platform now, but whether that is something that could be profitable, I'm not sure. I really don't think they would go that way, but that would be an interesting development, though. And whether, because they've got all these wonderful synthesizers, all that stuff, so whether they were to sort of venture more into standalone hardware,
it's an interesting thought. I don't know. I wonder what would happen if they said, what we're going to do with the 50 million is basically spend it on bug fixes and updates. What do you reckon the chances of that, Rich?
Well, I had been thinking that they had pretty much pushed this one a year a complete upgrade with maybe 5 more sample libraries that they bought from somewhere, and a synth or two, and a couple more reactor thing tricks. And pretty much every year for the last, I don't know how many years, has been one of those. And they've sold very, very deeply into the market that would be interested in that. And they've managed to avoid selling the entire warehouse at $29 a plug-in like some other companies we know.
That's true.
So now they've sort of I kind of envisioned them as having sort of plateaued in that world on some level, even though they're not, I'm sure they're doing quite well there. In order for them to solicit this level of financial input, and in concert with what my two distinguished colleagues said, all of which slams the nails right on the head, they're going to reach out. They're talking about changing the way the common man makes music. They're very almost explicitly stating that in that little 3-paragraph blurb they sent out, or however many it was short. And I think, as Gaz said, that they're mostly going to be focusing now not on the market to which they have been addressing, but they're going to be focused on the world as their market. How can we make music accessible to everybody? And I would suspect that that was sort of the pitch that existed between them and these investors. I'm completely speculating. I don't know anybody who gave me this information, but that's the way I see it.
It's interesting. I mean, that does ring alarm bells a little bit in terms of the sort of dumbing down aspect of it. But in fairness, the other thing, and I've been doing this recently because I've been putting a few little musical kind of doodahs together, and I have to say, I started to use battery again because I found the hard drive where I had a complete install on it from, I don't know, Complete 7 or something some time back. And I have to say, all of the sounds in battery are just absolutely brilliant. You know, they are totally ready. You know, you put it out there, you make a beat, and it goes, that sounds like or that could sound like a record with very little extra work. It's that their quality control of their sonic output is very tightly focused, and they are very.
The
that's
mixer
one thing that
sounds
really
great.
Yeah,
the mixer in battery sounds fantastic. Everything you stick through that thing sounds amazing.
Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't tried that, but yeah, that's another point. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, wish them all the well. I hope it doesn't end up with them being kind of forced into the Fisher-Price kind of dumbed down stuff too much, which they presumably will have to do a little bit of that, or certainly trying to reach. Whenever I hear they're kind of making music available for everybody, I get that kind of I press a button and it sounds great kind of scare, which. That line which says you don't have to be an expert to sound great. I just no. Could we have some level of expertise, please? Just a little bit. That would be great. Anyway, that's not specifically music technology, but I thought I wanted to throw that one in there. What's the time? It's probably time to. Speaking of commerciality, let's have a little message from our sponsor. Why not? This is the news, obviously, of Ozone 8, which came out recently. Ozone 8 and also Neutron 2. Really powerful stuff. We talked about it quite a lot a couple of shows back. Master Assistant allows you to kind of guides you through the mastering process to kind of give you a really kind of very detailed starting point for maybe the type of music or the final delivery platform. Also allows you to work with the tonal balance control, which allows you to kind of see roughly within which areas each frequency, this is the shot of it here, you know, which is an acceptable level of learning of frequency response, which just gives you something that's going to sound pretty damn good to begin with. And as we said, you know, experience of this is the Ozone 8 sounds really damn good, and the Mastering Assistant has got an awful lot of machine learning and kind of database of other material for you to be able to deal with. Also, you can run multiple tracks to compare A and B. It also allows you to control other instances of Ozone and Neutron in the same session to kind of tweak it from a master point to get to the final effect. Not very well said by me, but honestly, it's really astonishing technology. Well worth checking out. If you want to try it out, isotope.com/ozone will get you there. There's 3 different flavors. You've got the standard, the production, and the advanced, which give you additional features, which if you are specifically into mastering will probably be much more your bag. So do well check it out. It's actually a great piece of software, even though my bumbling voiceover perhaps didn't lead you to believe that. So we've also got a competition for them this week. You can win a copy of Ozone 8. In fact, last week, let me see. I'm just looking for that. Last week it was the last show. In fact, we asked you to take a look at to tweet the hashtag. What was it? Fix My Mix and Ozone 8, and we got a winner from that. And the winner is a chap called, now if I can pronounce this, Chitonius Reflex. The Twitter handle is Chitonius, CHITINOUS Reflex, one word. If you get in touch, you will have a copy of Ozone 8 directly available on your account, and you'll be able to use it as a full thing. You've won. That's what I'm trying to say. God, I don't know what's happened to my words today. But we've also got another competition this week. If you want to tweet the hashtag expert mastering as one word and the hashtag Ozone 8 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc., then you will be entered the competition. That's the hashtag expert mastering as one word, the hashtag Ozone 8 @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc., and you will be entered, and the competition winner will be announced next week. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, got there in the end. Right, so all my windows are all mixed up. So let's see what's next. Oh, did you see this? This is an interesting one. This is a chap called Andrew Huang.
Control! Hey, it's Andrew Huang. If you watch my videos, you probably know I'm a pretty big music nerd, but I've never really shown the degree to which that statement applies. That changes today because I want to share with you all about my journey with my modular synthesizer.
I'm not going to play it all because he's got 1 million plus subscribers on YouTube, right? I'm not going to play it all. I think that entitles some of you, if you're playing the drinking game, you're allowed to take a drink now, because that's one of the things I say regularly, along with Fulsome Chat Room. So basically, Andrew Huang, he's got literally over 1 million subscribers. This video alone has had 260,000. So he generally does sort of technology-based stuff, and he's just, he's your classic YouTuber generation, obviously doing really well out of it. And I really like the way that he kind of said, it's almost like, I've not told you this before, but I'm an alcoholic. It's kind of, and so he goes through it, and he does quite a decent job of explaining what's going on in the system and how it's all put together and what have you. And it's just such a massive audience. I mean, when you think 1 million, and so it just struck me as a kind of like, wow, this really means that, it's, I think a couple of shows ago I was saying, well, this, modular seems to be getting a research. Something like this is going to really make a difference. And I know, Dave, you haven't gone Eurorack, but I mean, just synthesis in general presumably is going to get a boost from this kind of exposure. I mean, because 250,000, 260,000 views of something, most of these people are probably not going to be into synthesis or modular or anything, and now suddenly they're going to know about it. I mean, even if it's a 1% take-up, that'll do, wouldn't it? What's that, 2,500? People might start investigating.
Great. No, I think it's great. Anything that furthers the kind of musical cause. And actually, I thought he was really enthusiastic. He was an effervescent kind of guy. He's really enthusiastic. He's obviously passionate about it, and I love all of that. However, I am going to put this into perspective. So my daughter is involved in the gaming world, and she brought some friends around, and my niece recognised one of the girls that she brought round, she's called LD Shadow Lady. This is pure fluke that I have this on my phone. And she has 3,457,000 views for subscribers. Sorry, 3,453,907 views. And I believe her and her partner are officially YouTube millionaires. And they were really pleasant, and I really liked them. I thought they were dead cool. I didn't know any of this when I was chatting to them. And then my daughter said, oh, that's da-da-da-da-da. And my niece was going, oh, I recognise her. She's LD Shadow Lady. And kind of got all, she's only like 14, kind of got all nervous around her and stuff like this. So I went off and did some research. And when I saw that and various other videos that have got 10 million views, I put a rope over the tree in my garden and nearly went out to...
Yeah, see this? It's bloody worthless. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's astonishing, isn't it, when you think what kind of a niche we're in. But yeah, amazing. Gaz, I mean, this is all great stuff. I mean, and hopefully, this sort of thing. I'm going to try and get in touch with him because maybe he'll come on my show. Our show.
Would, yeah. He does kind of shout out to DivKit, doesn't he, Ben? In the notes of that particular video. And,
oh my God, does he? Wow.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So, and who else? Some others of
Myla
our gang.
Melodies. We're not in
Myla
there.
Melodies. Yeah.
God damn.
No. I'm thinking of doing a gaming channel, though. I've got to be honest, because I've been I can't believe it. Sort of, what the gamers get. So I'm thinking of doing it, just sort of because
Maybe that's the
you're
NI thing.
And you're a gamer as well, so that also helps.
I am, yeah,
obviously.
yeah. So, yeah, I might do. I'm absolutely rubbish at playing games, though. So I don't know that. I don't think
that might make it all the more fun.
Yeah.
Maybe
just
cursing and dropping things.
Very, very good at that. Yes. But yeah, I mean, it is really good to see, though, with Andrew doing that video. I think it's because I think a lot of people will be just going, "Ooh, that looks fun," and I think that's one thing about modular that is quite of appealing for people. You don't need to, it's not like learning an instrument. It's not an impediment to being, playing with modular, is it? I mean, it's just more like, I mean, obviously you can combine those things.
No, I'd say modular is more of an impediment to learning an instrument rather than the other way around, because you just get sidetracked all the time.
Yeah, very good point. But I wonder if this will help sort of steer more people into this world. And yeah, I mean, he is a brilliant YouTuber, though, isn't he? And he has got that way of just being able to be very engaging and sort of pulls you in and explains things very well. And I'm seeing a lot of people have so raised the game in the last few years in terms of just the content that they're making online. And I saw some comments passing by in the chat room about how television is, traditional television really is kind of on the way out. And I've been explaining this a little bit about, when we went to Synthfest, for instance, it was fantastic. A lot of people coming up to us, to me and Nick, and sort of being really friendly and sort of excited to see us there and all that kind of thing. And just sort of how people just go in, if I'm going to watch stuff, I'm only going to watch stuff that I'm of, things that I'm interested in.
Yeah. I suppose that's very true.
Yeah, and so which is kind of pretty cool. But I mean, seeing the quality that a lot of people's videos. I noticed Bo is in the chat room. I think he's still in the chat room. But of Bo Beats, I did a little interview with him last week. And Bo's video quality that's he's making really good content, and this people just seem to be getting just really excellent at making engaging content.
It's a new language, isn't it? It is definitely a new language. It's astonishing, though, Rich. I mean, these are kind of like, the sort of numbers that we would normally attribute to kind of superstar bands, and that side of things. And then there's probably quite a lot of big name bands that haven't got that many YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, it's a completely different world. I sympathize with all of my colleagues. Once again, spot on comments on this subject. All I can say is he seems like a nice guy. He's very enthusiastic. The music sounded pretty good, and he's obviously a musical person. That makes me like him too. And I got to thinking while I was watching the thing, and I don't know why it took me this many years to kind of come up with this, but that modular is sort of the musical equivalent of sandcastles. At the end of the day, a big wave is going to come along, and that magnificent thing you just built is gone. And you enter it knowing that. But it's sort of an analogy that had never occurred to me until I watched him starting to pull his cables, and it reminds me of a sandcastle.
That's a very good point. Maybe
pithy
that's why
metaphor for the day.
That's I think a very valid metaphor. That's a good one. And I think again, it's great that there's this level of exposure and the fact that because I'm looking at a lot of his other videos, and they do tend to have a musical kind of angle to them. Why does this song work? How did I do this? Why does this work so well? Productivity hacks. There's loads of them. Sorry.
And he sang, sorry, Nick, and he sang at the end of it. There was parts of it I was thinking, well, yeah, this is a bit of a Euro rap masturbation episode. But and then at the end of it, there was actually a song. He created a song and he sang over it. And I was like, wow, actually, yeah. And that turned it for me. That turned everything on his head. Yeah. He was using it for that purpose. I don't think enough people do.
Excellent. Well, it seems like everybody is trying to get everybody into making music in a more simple way, in a more straightforward way. I'm going to quickly do a plug of our access of this too. It's Max for Live Synth. This is Wave Junction, which is great sounding synth. Actually, I've got some stuff that I've been noodling with, and I can getting some really nice sounds out of it. 2 oscillators, multi-wave types. We've also got 3 filters, multi-mode filters. All sorts of different filter types. There's 5 LFOs, 5 ADSRs, and a 12-slot modulation matrix, plus various panning and all sorts of other options. You can get some great sounds out of this thing. You can buy it from us direct. It's something that we sell. You can get a 10% discount code if you use the code WJTalk17 and you go to bit.ly/wavejunction, then you'll get your 10% off. And don't forget, you can download the free Mono Junction, which is just a sort of single voice. Doesn't have exactly the same features, but you know, it's free. You need Ableton obviously and Max for Live too, but hey, there you go. You can go and get it yourself. And while you're at it, go and get some merch. We've got plenty of that too. There's lots of t-shirts and all sorts of things you can get. All of those are available on the site, so please do fill your boots. Spend as much as you can afford, but don't go too crazy. Anyway, thank you very much. That was another very poorly delivered advert. I hope there aren't any more sponsors watching. In fact, I was going to say what Native Instruments need to do is spend some of that 50 million euros on advertising with us. But after that, I suspect it'll be a negative equity deal. Anyway, so this was something that I was interested in as well. Did you see this? The new Pioneer DJ S1000, which is a performance sampler thing. You know, we saw the previous Torres, I forget the model. Now, this is your usual fare, but there's loads of producers and DJs in here, and it's not your usual marketing kind of, it's your usual marketing vehicle, but they sound like they are really into it and really actually are getting what they need from it, which I thought was quite an unusual thing. I mean, the marketeer's dream. But this is the new standalone. It links up with DJ Pro Link, so you can tempo sync it to your other Pioneer DJ gear. It's got a 16-step sequencer, comes with a whole bunch of Loopmaster sounds in it that are in ROM. You can sample into it, you can playback stuff, you can pitch shift, it's got effects, side, all of that stuff. And all of these DJs were just actually waxing very lyrical about it.
Compose on the fly. It's just such an incredible way of interacting with the moment, with the possibility of...
I mean, the words they're saying sound really like they could have been written by a marketer, but the way they're saying them, they're actually, I think they probably mean it. It's not, I know it sounds very cynical of me, but usually you can tell, can't you, when somebody's just going, oh yeah, this is amazing, I can't wait to use this on my next record. But they actually seem genuinely excited about it. So I think maybe Pioneer onto something. And, once again, it's that kind of making the performance aspect of DJing, taking it away from the laptop, Rich, and, kind of creating stuff on the fly. I think it's quite an exciting product. It's not cheap, but it looks like it's going to open a lot of doors for people, right?
It looks like a tremendously creative piece of gear for people who like to work that way. And they are very clear about the fact that you can use it standalone, or you can connect it to a big rig full of their other stuff and make it all work together seamlessly. And I don't know their marketplace well enough to know how successful I should expect this to be. But from a product creation viewpoint, it seems to be an incredibly successful little environment, not unlike other environments by other companies who were addressing it to their user base. So I think it could be a very successful thing. I wonder why we're still transferring files using flash drives. I mean, this is a totally minor point as it relates to this product, and not at all like a dig at them. But we're transferring, I can send 16 voices of Rolly across Bluetooth. How come I still have to connect something that can break off in a socket to get my file from there to there? You know what I mean? That's kind of weird to me. I don't quite understand that.
I think I think in this instance, Rich, it's because you would take your USB stick with your set on it and plug it in, and I suppose without having to take maybe your laptop to transfer it over Bluetooth or whatever. It does have an Ethernet port, which I think is for maybe just the DJ Pro Link.
Well, no, it's nice to have that, but why do I have to use it? In other words, it just seems to me that all kinds of wireless technologies and cloud-based technology exists, so that you should be able to get to that pretty much from anywhere anyway.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And maybe, maybe that's something that will be addressed. I mean, what's really impressive is the way that Pioneer have come from nothing. What was it? 2 years ago, maybe not even that long, to suddenly having two kind of MPC DJ style products, one of which, this one looks like a really kind of major iteration of it, and the DSI synth. I've forgotten what the name of it is now. The mono synth, AS1.
Yeah.
You know, very quickly, and with what seems like, I mean, I don't know how much, I haven't seen an awful lot of marketing behind it, so there must be quite a lot of word of mouth going on here. So that must mean that, you know, there's something really good about it. I know, and it's also good that, you know, the DJ side of things tends to push against our side of things as well. You know, the line's kind of blurred, and I like, you know, I can imagine that for people who maybe want to play live and don't want to take, I don't know, maybe they haven't got an MPC, but this might fit their workflow better. I know, Gaz, you sound like you want to come in, so I'll let you.
Well, I think, you know, like pioneer in terms of the DJ market, you know, just so
CDJ, isn't it? Yeah,
CDJ
totally.
So dominant, and so I think there's a bunch of interesting things about this. One thing being that a lot of clubs just have like the Pioneer systems all installed, and therefore, I guess a lot of these places will get these and just put them in the rig. So the point about the USB stick, you know, is quite an interesting idea that, you know, you just turn up, put your set in and load it all into across all of the devices. And isn't it interesting then, the idea that people who work in that genre, in that sphere, can essentially take their whole production rig live without actually having to take them.
I mean, it's not like, because normally, I mean, like Rich, you have to hire stuff, don't you? I mean, you know, a keyboard will be hired into your specification, you know, there or thereabouts, but it still means that you don't have to travel with that kind of stuff. I mean, you're essentially doing the same thing, but at a different level, you know, turning up with your USB stick and plugging your set into that. So, I mean, this makes sense for maybe the DJs with the installations, right? Yes. Dave Spears. All right. Looks kind of cool. I quite fancy the look of this. I mean, it's a shame that the step sequence is only 16 beats, which is, you know, it does rather promote that one bar loop kind of thing, which I'm getting a little bit tired of. But, you know, I guess if you're just doing a basic beat and unmuting and muting and arranging on the fly, that's possibly enough. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, drink.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an odd one. Yeah, I can see that if I was in the market for something like this, then I may be tempted. It's interesting, actually. A friend of ours had a 50th. It was a girly 50th birthday party, and Andy decided that he'd been doing a bit of DJing at home, and he thought, I'll tell you what, I'll just do it at this party and see how it goes. And he came outside at one point and I went, how's it going? I said, everyone seems to be having fun. He said, yeah. He said, but I made a mistake. He said, I started with Dancing Queen. And where do you go from there with a bunch of 50-year-old ladies? There's just nowhere to go, which kind of made me laugh. But I kind of respect everybody's, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I respect everybody's right to an opinion on this. I just don't really care what it is.
I see. It's interesting. I mean, for those of you, you know, perhaps we do decry the kind of, there's the meme of the talentless DJ who's just pushing buttons. But I have to say, I mean, I've occasionally at parties when, you know, it's gone on later than usual, and maybe, you know, that if it's like a birthday party and the hired DJ or wedding has gone home, and you go, I'll have a go, and I just cannot do it for the life of me. And I feel like, you know, I know I've got a reasonable sense of musicality, but I cannot DJ. I just cannot read what to do. I come up with, I could play this, and then nobody dances, and you just think, why not? Because I just don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I'm a dreadful DJ. I'm a prog DJ, you know. I'm just on this
Well, the ladies in the house, they've gone.
National Health and Magnum mashups.
I've just thought of this really wrong idea. Wouldn't it be fun to take songs like Dancing Queen and just put extra beats in, just to throw the time signatures out, just by adding them in, just so when everyone started to it, you just throw them, and then just do like a set of just like all the typical stuff, but just
That
really
sounds
difficult to dance to.
Gaz, that sounds like a pork ticket DJ gig to me.
It does actually, yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's sort of like the DJ's equivalent of the Portsmouth Sinfonia.
Yeah, that's funny actually. For those perhaps wondering what Pork Ticket is about, it's Gaz's project he's mentioned last time, which doesn't seem to have any online presence. Lots of people saying,
no, it doesn't. I need to talk to Sebastian Goldfinch, my partner in crime. That's his real name, by the way. To get his permission to put it up online, because it's we will. Pork Ticket will be online at some point, because it's
excellent.
It's totally
anyway,
wrong.
that's probably enough of that. But yeah, so DJ, and I guess this must mean that there's going to be more products coming from Pioneer. You know, sort of blurring the lines a little bit, and in many ways, you know, that we look back to things like the 808, the TB303, you know, they were designed almost like home accompaniment for kind of gigging musicians not to have a bass player along. They weren't designed to be kind of cutting edge music sounds. So, you know, the idea that these kind of boundaries are being blurred, you know, hopefully they're coming up with things. People just go, I've got to get me one of those because you can use it for this, and it means that I can do that. And that's the thing that needs to happen at the moment. So, yeah.
I think, I like the synergy of the two things, you know. If you put something like that, if I saw somebody like John Hopkins using that along with some traditional instruments, I would then start going, oh, this looks interesting, because the kind of synergy of those two things to me is sort of semi-exciting.
Well, you could see like there could be a box, you know, a box that takes a clock in or a tempo control in and spits out DJ Pro link information that then drives that sampler, and that's, you know, that this is a closed sort of system at the moment, but as soon as you bring out, it's like Roland did, didn't they? They brought out that kind of format changer at about the same time as the MX1 mixer, which was just sort of bringing in a clock and spitting out all sorts of different clocks and different stuff. And it's that kind of, if they bring out something like that, then you can see that being another step, because then, you know, okay, I could link my modular up to this, and then the samples I'm playing in there are in time all the time, but the LFO then runs that, whatever. I mean, that's the sort of thing that's going to start broadening this all out into a bigger kind of picture, I would think. But yeah, DJS 1000, it should be out this month. I think I had a picture of it somewhere, because I probably haven't shown an awful lot. Is right here. Let's see. I'll shut that window down and close that. Is right here, and that's what it looks like. So it's like a bigger version of the Torais. Is it SP16? I think it was. I can't remember what it was called. A bit more kind of DJ mixer sort of styly. And it's quite expensive. Well, it seems expensive. I don't know if it is expensive. I mean, you know, why is it expensive? It's probably fair price, really. We're just used to everything being cheap. Oh, it's got a 7-inch touchscreen as well. I didn't know that. £1,169. So I'm guessing that's probably about $1,200-1,300, something like that. So where was I going? Oh yeah, this one. Oh yeah, Gaz.
I know. All I was going to say, just on costs of things, you know, sort of just going, is that expensive? Is that the right price? You know, Roland have brought out those little drum pads recently, just a single SPD ones they're called, where they're just sort of single pads, and like I think their UK price is £199 each. And I'm having like a bit of an argument with a friend of mine who thinks they're overpriced, because he says, well, you know, you spend a few £100 more and you can buy an SPD 16 or something, you know, SPD. I can't remember, the SPD SX, and I think that's got 9 pads on. And
yeah, that's more like £500 or £600 though, isn't it? That's a bit more
expensive. £500 or £600. Yeah, but like the £200 for, no, it's just this thing about like difficult to kind of work out whether something is expensive or not, you know, because those SPD things, you know,
these things.
Yeah, and like, you know, they're £199 each. Or there's one which lets you load a load of samples in, which is an extra £50. And I was thinking, I think they're really good. You know, that you get one which is a kick drum. You know, you just augment your kick. You know, and like compared to guitar pedals, okay, they're like sort of like fairly premium guitar pedal prices. But you know, for a guitar pedal like a decent quality fuzz or something, you know, and it's your kick drum, and you can do all your kind of kick sounds off it. It seems about the right price, I think, but it was just that thing when you were saying that about like, is it the, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to know, isn't it? Because you get so many companies that, you know, are really hitting the rock bottom. I don't know. Do you think, Rich, that do you think we're being spoiled? It's kind of like that kind of race to the bottom that we've had in food retailing and supermarkets, you know, where we expect to pay, you know, 99 cents for 2 chicken breasts or whatever it may be, the equivalent. But we don't, and then we suddenly go, wait a minute, this is really crummy quality. We shouldn't be eating this stuff, or we shouldn't be buying this stuff. I mean, do you think we're just kind of, it's an endless cycle? That's something that will go on forever.
Well, I know software guys who would tell you that it is, because like I say, you've got one major company selling the entire warehouse at $29 a plugin, stuff they were selling 6 months ago for $300. So,
Yeah.
And they're not selling junk for $29 a plugin. They're selling their regular stuff, and they're not selling time limited licenses or anything. They're just selling the warehouse for $29 a plugin. And that's got to be tough on a lot of small businesses. Just the same way when, the big market retailer moves into your town and sells hardware in a space that's like, 29 million square meters big, and you got to take a taxi from one end of the thing to the other end of the thing. And then your local hardware store can't sell a hammer anymore because you can't afford to pay the rent anymore because nobody goes there because you can get everything at this other place. It's the same kind of deal now where, and like I said earlier in the conversation about the funding of Native Instruments, I think we've come to a point where on a corporate level, anybody who wants to put money into this business thinks that the existing marketplace of people who actually are older skilled musicians, people who practice instruments, is more or less saturated with tons of product that will continue to be serviced by the people who are providing those products. And what they're interested in is addressing the entire world marketplace as a possible music making community. And I honestly think that's the corporate focus in this business these days.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very fair point. I think you're quite possibly correct there. I mean, I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because, I mean, when we're talking about synthesizers, you just go, yeah, okay, so we've got the boutique, or whatever the equivalent is, or the Behringer D, and it's like, well, this is silly money, very, very cheap. And then you've got your Dread boxes or your Fuse box, your Analog Solutions, who have to charge more because they haven't got the economy scale, they're hand-built stuff. But people who value it will know the difference. You can't really do that in software because there isn't a physical thing, or you should be able to, but somehow there's a barrier to that.
A barrier to what, sorry?
To being able to charge kind of what it's worth if it's a software product as a hardware product. If a sort of small software company puts a lot of work, I mean, I guess you see it in stuff like very specialist software tends to be more expensive because it's got a smaller possible market. So, that's where you buy it. But it's harder to justify making something expensive in software.
Yeah, to a degree, particularly in light of things like the App Store and stuff like that. That was a bit of a game changer in the industry. But conversely, if you support something for a long time and you support it well, I think in the same way, like Rich was saying about, you get the big kind of multinational giant store move into the area, people will still go to the local hardware store because actually they like the guy in there and he gives them good service and they get to hang out and they talk to things, they talk about stuff, and actually that kind of, I don't like that box shifting mentality. But I do think there's another issue with all of this cheap hardware, and that is actually one of the things that I loved about software originally was this whole, we have a planet with finite resources, and it's like, okay, you've got service stations that gobble up huge amounts of raw materials in order to fuel it, as it were. But that's changed over the last few years. But I do think I'll tell you what I would absolutely love to see with hardware is like a kind of, I would like to see a trail in the same way that you see with farm produce, where you go to the butchers and
provenance.
Yeah, exactly. And I would love to see that if, particularly with the sort of smaller boutique hardware companies, that actually this stuff isn't made by kids being exploited in particular parts of the world. I would love to see that, but I can't see big companies signing up to that.
Well, I suppose the thing is people tend to apply that to things that are more consumable, that perishable, that they would repeat buy regularly, and think, well, I'm buying this every week. If I just bought this one instead, then I might make a difference. Whereas I might only buy, 5 synthesizers in 20 years. I mean, as a guess. I mean, obviously not you, Dave, but then that choice is the effect of that choice is perceived by the buyer as less impactful, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, and pricing's just, I don't know, it's mad. I mean, I saw a Simmons claptrap for sale the other day for like £999. And I was thinking, who would ever? And it was the digital one. It wasn't the analog one, which is, eminently more collectible if you're in that scene. But it was just like, who would pay that? Who would pay that for that when you've got all this other stuff out there? Anyway, yeah.
I think it would be nice to see things like Roland's System 8 making the plug out like an open platform where you could have third-party developers develop, or just kind of reusing existing code and selling it.
Well, then the hardware gets reused, so you don't have to buy new hardware.
The hardware gets reused, but it's not trying to do the thing that's like the what were the things called? The racks called inceptors. I can't remember receptors. Yeah. So rather than trying to make this whole thing, you just kind of have it just like actually, in the plug out format. Roland could maybe have an app store where they sell it through there, or but like Reason rack extensions, but into hardware. I mean, no one's doing anything like that, but I that's what I'd like to see. I think it'd be
that makes
cool
sense. I imagine the difficulty is because these processors are so specific. It's not like I'm a C++ coder or I can write Java, therefore I could do this. It's kind of like, no, this is a super specific chip on here that you need a very specific set. So if you might develop a great instrument, you can't then go, oh, well, here's a boutique version or here's a plugin version or here's a whatever version.
It's but maybe it's something not specifically that though, for that reason. You're absolutely spot on there, but maybe in the future something that is that takes that kind of format and
Well, it was Halloween yesterday, so and Rich, you did send this one in, so I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is the Outer Limits free sound pack.
If you will,
brilliant.
A place where standard
Outer Limits from
Soundtoys
Soundtoys
transformed into sonic mutations and otherworldly soundscapes of terror. Step into Soundtoys Outer Limits preset expander for Effect Rack and Soundtoys 5. 67 presets in 3 specialized volumes designed to twist, warp, distort, and create horrific new sounds from even the most cutesy and whimsical audio track.
That's a great little promo video, and that's your mate Mitch Thomas, who I've not met in person, but he does a lot of the Soundtoys stuff. And this is for Soundtoys 5, which I don't have. I should probably check it out because I've got the. It's a free set of presets. No, I don't have it. I should probably get hold of it. A free collection of 67 presets, spacey sci-fi kind of stuff, slightly related to the kind of Halloween horror thing. We often do a Halloween thing, but I when I was doing it, I recalled that we probably told at great length what it's like making sounds for horror films. But I just thought we'd throw this one anyway. Rich, I know you use Soundtoys stuff, right?
I should start with a disclaimer. I've been using it since before it was Soundtoys, and I've been testing software for them for years and years and years, and I really like these guys. So that all having been said, I use it a lot, and I love it, and I wouldn't want to be without it. And whether I was testing it or not, or whether I've known them for this long or not, I wouldn't want to be without it. It's awesome stuff.
They've got great interface, haven't they? Yeah, the
interfaces are great. The ability they do stuff that nothing else does, and they do other things that other things do, but better. And some things are fantastic. For example, they've got some Mojo plugins that give you tubey type textures and distortion type textures that are stunning. Decapitator is one.
I'm just looking for
Radiator
that
is another one. They have fantastic stuff, and the version 5 allows you to put them into effects racks and save them as total racks full of stuff.
Neat. And, hence the presets, right?
Which calls into use, no doubt. I haven't looked at them yet, but I did pull them down. Calls into use all kinds of different plugins and different configurations in the rack that allow you to do like really, really cool and awesome things. The other thing to know is that the guy who's at the top of this company wrote almost all of the most profound algorithms in the Eventide H3000s and Eventide products that preceded that. So this comes down the lineage from the early Eventide processors that were sort of industry defining.
Right. Okay. Hence the legacy. Okay. Cool. Gaz, you use Soundtoys stuff, right? I remember you saying something.
Well, only fairly recently, Robbie Bronneman was just going on at me all the time. You've got to get the Soundtoys, and then getting the Soundtoys 5 bundle. There's often deals on to get the bundle, and that's what I did. And the rack is just a masterful piece of design. I have to be honest. I think it's so good. One of the best things about it is it's got like a feedback control at the beginning of the rack, where you can send some of whatever is leaving the end of the rack back in. Obviously potentially dangerous, but so I downloaded these yesterday and played some guitar through it, and I swear I scared the pants off. Some of the sounds are just terrifying. There's just like, just do like as Mitch says in that thing, just like really inane stuff, put it through there. And honestly, all this stuff started going on, and I scared the pants off myself. I'm just like going, so really, really creative, brilliant
sort of thing you need to create those textures and have them playing in the hall for when the trick-or-treat kids come. You open the door, just give a little puff of dry ice and have a backlight, and open the door and say, yes, can I help you?
Oh god, yeah. But really great though, and using the rack, the whole rack format in a very, very cool way. Yeah, so I highly recommend it from me.
I think that's the rack there by the looks of things, but I'm not familiar with Dave. Do you know this? Do you know their stuff, Dave?
Yeah, use it. Little microshift thing, the widening thing. What's the other one? The little freak. And I was in the studio where somebody said, "I'll go and abuse that little altar boy," and I thought, "What are you talking about?" But it's a Soundtoys plugin.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Right, so I think it's about, at the moment it's $5.99. I don't know if it's got for the pack. So $4.99, I think it is. Yeah, you can get the thing for $4.99. No dongle required. So if you're looking for a pack, because obviously lots of people do bundles, but I'm going to check some of their stuff out, because what I'm trying to do with all the stuff that I do, I'm trying to limit it to only the onboard things that happen in whatever DAW it is. So like in Reaper, I did some tracks, and all I used. I cheated. I obviously, apart from Valhalla Reverb, I used a Valhalla Reverb, but everything else was just Reaper native, nothing else. And I try and do the same in anything I do. And it's partly to do with transportability and I want to edit this machine. I haven't got all of that stuff, but and also just lack of choice, that whole kind of thing. But that's the way.
Just one thing I'd like to say quickly on that bundle deal though is quite often they will make some of their plugins available free, and just for a very short period of time. And if you grab the free plugins, then you get offered a chance to upgrade to the Soundtoys, the full thing, and the free one counts as a product that you own, that brings down the
all right, okay. Interesting pricing strategy.
Yeah, and that's what I did, and it was really made it really much more affordable. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Excellent. Well, folks.
Additionally,
go, Rich.
Pardon me, Nick. Additionally, we're coming up to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and Thanksgiving includes Black Friday, which is the day after Thanksgiving, which is the biggest retail day in American business. So expect people to be blowing out software, not Soundtoys in particular, but just pretty much everybody over the coming month and a half, because everybody's trying to wrap up their fiscal year.
Yeah, well, that's what we often do, like a live blog of watch of deals, or just post anything that we can find, and so it just kind of creates a point. I think we'll probably do that. I'll stick something in the diary and see if we can find some people who want to contribute to that, because it's quite easy. Just go, I found this deal here, and we just paste it in, and it's just a big list of stuff that you can buy cheaply. But yeah, thanks for that, Rich. That's a very valid point. I think we're probably done for today. It feels like a good point to end. I want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us. I'm just going to remind you of the Ozone competition. No, that's the Ozone competition there. If you want to enter and win a copy of Ozone 8 provided by Isotope, we need to tweet the hashtag expert mastering and the hashtag Ozone 8 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. That's the hashtag expert mastering and the hashtag Ozone 8 to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. And then you'll be entered for the next prize draw, which will be next week. Tomorrow I'm going to be at We Are Robots, which is at the Truman, the brewery. I don't know where it is actually, in London. It's like a 3-day technology conference, open to the public, or I think it's only a tenner to get in. I'm speaking on a panel about the future of music production, which is going to be fun. So I'll be there tomorrow and filming a few things as well. And of course, what else have we got coming up? I've completely... Oh, yeah. Last week's show, if you didn't get to see it, that was Robbie Puricelli showed us the Fairlight Series 3 that he had for restoration, which I think is being passed on to a client now. That's a great one as well worth watching. But in the meantime, I want to say thank you very much to all my guests. Thank you very much, Rich, for joining us. I hope your jet lag doesn't kick in too hard this afternoon and you can get back to real life seamlessly, like a pro you are, I'm sure.
I'm not the least bit worried, and if I do sleep, it's all good.
Excellent. That's a great attitude. Thank you very much, Rich. Lovely to see you. Also, Mr. Gaz Williams, thanks for joining us as well. Pleasure to have you aboard as ever.
Yeah, thanks. And just if anyone's around tomorrow, I think there's about 20 tickets left for our album launch in the Cube for Asteroid Deluxe. It's a new album, and it's available for pre-order now as well. The Lawn is asteroiddeluxe.com.
Excellent. Thank you. See you later. And also, Dave Spears, thank you very much for joining us as well. It's been a pleasure having you aboard. Have you got something else to plug? I can't remember what you said.
Oh, I've got, yeah. So don't forget about the bundle deal on the old rack extension Tron stuff, which Propellerhead's called Game of Trons, which made me laugh.
Very good.
But also, actually, I'm going to pimp something else very quickly that actually isn't anything to do with us. Everybody knows we've got the Optigan expansion pack, but P. Hicks, who's the guy behind, who's really kept the Optigan alive as an instrument and done additional discs, has just done an app, the iOptigan, and I haven't used it yet, but if he's been involved in it, I think it was probably bloody brilliant.
Yes, of course. I think we had a news item, iOptigan. Let me have a look. In fact, P. Hicks very kindly sends me emails whenever he finds an issue with the site, which sometimes I don't get until the morning, and I'm glad that someone's looking at it. Let's have a look. I think I've got the iOptigan here. Let's have a look. I've got come on, get on with it. Right, here we go. I think is this it? iOptigan.
That looks like an Optigan.
Yep. Cha-cha-cha. 1972. Oh, I love these grooves. Oh, here we go. Yes, so you can have an iOptigan sitting on the keyboard of your... Well, no, that's an M Audio controller. But anyway, yeah, do check that out. And P. Hicks is most welcome to that plug, because we approve very much. So anyway, chaps, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as ever. Stay tuned to Sonicstate.com. We've got a lot more stuff coming up soon. Like I say, I've got the... Fusebox from Analog Solutions. I've got all these boutiques, of some of which, a selection of which I may well review. Not all of them, but I'm definitely going to have a look at the SH01 and possibly the DO5 if I get the time. There's a lot of stuff coming in, and I'm getting a Lyra 8 coming in for review, which I'm really excited about as well. So,
hooray!
Woo! That's something I haven't been excited for a review for ages. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all next time. That's it for Sonic Talk. Don't forget to subscribe. See you later.